YouTube. I hope you are doing well this week, and I hope you are having a wonderful beginning of your 2025. First off, I have to thank you all for those who have subscribed because I just reached my first goal, which was to achieve 1,000 subscribers before the end of this month. And I just achieved that goal this week. So thank you all so much who have subscribed, especially for those who are on my TikTok page. A lot of you guys join my lives where I tell you guys to make sure you subscribe. So thank you to all of those who have helped me reach this goal. It means a lot. And I hope to start posting more longer content. But most of the content you guys have been seeing from me has been shorts, which is basically my TikTok. So I want to start making longer videos, but my first goal is at the very least to reach 1,000 subscribers. So in celebration of reaching 1,000, I'm going to make my first video, well, not my first, I've made another video that was a little bit longer, but this is going to be my first official transit video. And with this one, I'm going to be talking about Saturn and Pisces because Saturn is getting ready to go into sidereal Pisces starting March 29th of 2025, and it will remain there until February of 2028. So this is a very kind of rare or unique transit in the sense that typically Saturn will stay in a sign for about 2.5 years. And so like for Saturn in Aquarius, Saturn went into Aquarius in February 2023. But it's going to be leaving into Pisces in March of 2025, whereas Saturn will be going into Pisces March of 2025, and it will stay there until February of 2028. So that's basically 3 years. So this is going to be a very long transit of Saturn and Pisces. But not only that, we're getting ready to have Venus go into Pisces the end of this week. Or the end of this month, I'm sorry. And that's also a very unique transit because Venus typically stays in a sign for a month, but this Venus will be staying in Pisces starting again the end of this month, and it will remain there. It will remain in that sign until June of this year. So we have a lot of interesting transits happening in the Pisces axis, in the Pisces sign. So get ready. There's definitely a lot of changes that will be taking place. But I want to talk about Saturn, okay? So let's talk about Saturn because Saturn is the most important planet along with Jupiter and even Sun. Usually in Vedic sidereal astrology, you'll hear that they say the major grahas is Jupiter, which is like the living body of the living soul. So it's like your breath of life. Jupiter is basically your own guru. This is why it's a very significant planet when it comes to all the grahas that are acknowledged in Vedic astrology, but also is Saturn. Now let's talk about it. Let's make it practical, right? Why is Jupiter and Saturn considered the most like significant planets? This is because not only are they the largest, right? But they also have some sort of similarity, which is not only are they the largest planets, they also have rings, right? They have those significant rings going around it, right? And for Saturn, at least, I know that Saturn has about 146 moons that make up that ring. So a lot of people just see it as like a ring, but those rings are in fact moons. And I believe it's the same for Jupiter, but I don't know how many moons Jupiter has. So this is why Saturn and Jupiter are the most important grahas. This is why they have so much significance compared to all the other grahas. And this is because when we think of moon, okay, first of all, when we think of rings, if we're having rings around such a massive planet, clearly this means that there's some sort of protection around them, right? Because Jupiter is a huge planet. Saturn is a huge planet. So if something's so big, why does it need, if you think about it philosophically, why does it need those rings around it? This definitely means that something about those two planets is strongly protected, right? And this is because they hold a huge responsibility in this world to the collective. And this shows up by the rings, okay? Because the rings around Saturn and Jupiter, again, are moons. For Saturn, I know it's 146 moons. When we think of moons, moons is connected to moksha, right? Moon, the fourth house, it's connected to moksha, which has a lot to do with spiritual liberation. And then obviously the fourth house, Cancer, has a lot to do with taking care of other people, okay? So when we think of the moksha houses, the moksha houses have a lot to do with removing ourselves from this material world and in a sense, kind of sacrificing parts of ourselves in order to heal the collective, in order to take care of other people. So when we think of moon, we have to think of moksha. We have to think of the fourth house. We have to think of Cancer. So the fact that Saturn, such a massive planet, right? A planet that can do well on its own, it's so big, right? to have 146 moons around it, which is basically moksha, you have to see the moons as us. You have to see the moons as the collective, as the average person, the common person. Because moon, again, is all about taking care of other people. It's all about spiritual liberation or moksha, right? So when Saturn has so many moons around it, right? Those rings that are moons, what does this signify? This signifies that Saturn is being protected because, in a way, Saturn holds a huge importance to the collective, which is the moons. Those rings, those moons, what are the rings around Saturn? You have to view that as the collective. So this is why when you hear a lot of people talk about Saturn and how significant it is, it's because it rules our leaders. It has a lot to do with our government. It has a lot to do with politicians. It has a lot to do with laws, right? Anything that has to do with building boundaries, setting a solid foundation for the collective is Saturn. This is why we're all surrounded by it. Like, again, the rings, think of it that way, the rings, the moon is us. We, in a way, are at the mercy of Saturn, right? Because Saturn is the one that truly calls the shots. Saturn is the one that truly makes the rules. And we're just here hoping that the rules that they make are in our favor, right? Are for the human, or for the good of the human race, which is the rings around Saturn, right? So the same thing for Jupiter. This is why Saturn and Jupiter are major grahas, are super important grahas for that reason. So what does this mean, right? Like, Saturn's getting ready to go into Pisces. So this definitely means, and again, I like how I mentioned moksha, because those rings are connected to moksha, but also Pisces is connected to moksha. Pisces is a moksha house. It's the 12th house, which again has a lot to do with spiritual liberation. So we're taking Saturn's influence, right? Characteristics, the traits of Saturn that we all know, and we're putting it in a moksha house where it already has moksha influence from the moon's presence. So what does this mean? Okay, when we're putting Saturn, the planet that solidifies things, the planet that creates a solid foundation, the planet that creates structure in this world, how does this play out when Saturn goes into Pisces? Well, what this definitely shows is there's definitely going to be some sort of shift, major shift, that will take place, that will impact the collective and definitely will impact our government, okay? And this is because, again, Saturn is going into the moksha house, but not only is it going into the moksha house, it's preparing itself to reach its Gandanta point, right? You'll notice when Saturn goes into water signs and fire signs, typically that's when the most transformation will occur. And this is because this is the Gandanta point. A Gandanta point is basically when a water element goes into a fire element and vice versa. So because Saturn is going into Pisces, it's preparing itself to go into Aries, right? So this is why you'll notice, especially for the next 3 years, there's going to be a lot of transformation taking place for the collective, and not only the collective, but particularly the government, which obviously will impact the collective, okay? So because it's going in the 12th house, because it's going into Pisces, what changes can we expect to see? Definitely there's going to be some sort of conflict or some sort of changes that happen with other countries. Depending on where you live, you will notice there's going to be a shift, some sort of confrontation, conflict between other countries. Now, this could have a lot to do with import exports. Okay, so you know how we in America, we get a lot of our products and things like that from China, for example, or other countries. This definitely shows there's going to be some sort of conflict or something connected to the way goods are transported to us that will be coming up, okay? So this is definitely something we're going to be seeing coming to the surface while Saturn is in Pisces, okay? There's also going to be a lot of things that will be exposed to us. And this more than likely will happen probably when Saturn goes into Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra, but you can also see this happening in March and April, which is right when the eclipses will begin and when so many planets will be in Pisces. So this definitely is going to show that a lot of things will be exposed to us. And why am I saying exposed? Because again, Pisces is all about moksha, spiritual liberation. This is where things are revealed to you, right? Revealed to you so that you can let go. However, Saturn is the planet of boundaries. So this is where things are kind of hidden behind the scenes, right? But when you put Saturn in Pisces, you can't necessarily hide everything. Things will start to be exposed. Will start to be revealed to us, okay? So definitely something is going to be revealed to us. probably again in March and April, but especially in the next 3 years. And this is again going to have to deal a lot with dealing with foreign countries, dealing the way, again, food is transported to us, our goods in general are being transported to us. Definitely there's going to be a shift there. Another thing that I will see happening, and definitely with our policies, okay, laws, something about our laws are going to be definitely changing. The way we operate, the way the principles that we follow are definitely going to be changing based off of some sort of laws or changes in government that take place. So definitely there's going to be a shift, okay? And the thing is, again, the shift is going to be happening because Saturn is going through, it's getting ready to go through its Gandanta point, but it's currently in a moksha house, the 12th house of spiritual liberation, of letting go of a lot of things. So there's going to be a lot of shedding right now, a lot of endings, a lot of things that are being washed away, rinsed away, right? A lot of moksha is what we're going to be experiencing basically. So a lot of things that we've known for the past 30 years, those things are going to be completely transformed in order to create something new. However, that newness truly will not happen probably until Saturn goes into Taurus, because again, when Saturn goes into Pisces, yes, it's going to go into Aries, but that's also a Gandanta point where a lot of burning is going to happen, right? A lot of endings, a lot of shedding will still take place. It's not until Saturn goes into Taurus is when we're really going to see some sort of structure coming back, okay? So again, we're definitely going to see some sort of shift when it comes to how we deal with other countries. And we're definitely going to see a shift. When I also mentioned import export, this also shows me that there's going to be a shift in the way that we can travel, okay? Changes in transportation in general, not just with our foods, with our goods, but there will be changes in our transportation. And this may show up probably more so when Jupiter goes into Gemini. It could happen in March and April, but especially when Jupiter goes into Gemini, there's going to be some new advancements with our with the ways we can transport from point A to point B. This can be through a plane, this can be with vehicles, but something about the way we can travel is going to be changed, okay? There's going to be some sort of new regulations that come in for sure. Okay, so I see that, okay. Then another thing that I would definitely see, that I do see happening too, is, again, I mentioned goods, import, export. Saturn, again, it is Saturn is the Karaka of the eighth house, okay? So the eighth house is the house of fluctuations. It's the house of ups and downs, right? It's the house of hidden things, suppressed things, okay? But the thing is, Saturn is going into Pisces, which means the things that have been hidden, that have been suppressed, are going to be released now, okay? Now that it's in Pisces, okay? But because Saturn is a Karaka of the eighth house, this means this is definitely going to show changes with our finances. Some sort of shift, global shift, will be taking place when it comes to how we're dealing with their finances. Again, this can be amongst other countries, for the collective, or just individually. Something about our finances are going to be shifting. Something about the way we deal with money is going to be shifting. We will be seeing that for sure. But another thing too is because, again, Saturn is the Karaka of the eighth house. Saturn is, again, the planet of where hidden things are. This is why it has the rings around it. It sets boundaries. You can't know everything. And when you do, in things, eventually you'll know everything, but it's slowly revealed to you. But because Saturn is the Karaka of the eighth house, again, the eighth house has a lot to do with our struggles, right? Struggles, instability. What else could Saturn be connected to, because it's connected to the eighth house? The eighth house is the darkest house. It's Scorpio, right? This is where the sun is not visible. It's super dark, right? So what else does Saturn make a connection with, knowing this? Saturn makes a connection with, okay, this Saturn will be making a connection with our sense of security, which I already mentioned, but cybersecurity, okay, which will be coming up probably when Jupiter goes into Gemini. But also it has a lot to do with things that are literally underground. Eighth house, it's the hidden house. It's the darkest house, right at the bottom of all the houses. It's the darkest, it's the lowest. So Saturn, because it's a Karaka of that, Saturn actually has a lot to do with hidden things, suppressed things, okay? So what does this mean? Saturn is connected to the ground. It's connected to dirt. It's connected to things that are underground, which means things that are hidden, things that we weren't aware of, may be coming to the surface while Saturn is in Pisces. That for sure. But also Saturn is dirt, okay? This definitely means there's going to be some sort of conversation. How drastic it is, again, this may show up when Saturn is in Uttara Bhadrapada, or it may take a span of the 3 years for this to truly come out. But even when it comes out, it may not be 100% revealed because Saturn, again, will still suppress it to an extent. But this definitely means when Saturn goes into Pisces, things connected to our soil are going to be coming to the surface, okay? So again, this has a lot to do with our food, okay? This has a lot to do with our water, okay? Our source of water and our source of nutrition in general, okay? Connected to the type of soil we're using or something going on with the soil, okay? Not to scare anyone, I'm just saying things may come up connected to that. So, yeah, so that's another thing I definitely see can be happening. Definitely, okay, so this is another thing I've talked about for a while. We'll definitely see, we talked about the government, but Saturn has a lot to do with large institutions in general, or people with a lot of power, right? In a high authority position. So not only is it necessarily government, even though you could say this is connected to government, Hollywood, right? Celebrities, you know, people with high status. This definitely shows things with religion. This can be with a preacher, a pastor in particular, people of high status. Something about those people will be coming to the surface as well. Something will be revealed about those people as well. Something will be definitely like exposed, okay? This kind of happened a little bit while Saturn has been in Aquarius, but there's definitely going to be things with I don't know if I can say this, if this will get like banned or whatever on YouTube, because I know YouTube has its own thing. So, but what I want to substances, you know, Pisces is connected to Neptune, right? Pisces is the 12th house of escapism. So definitely something with substances will be coming to the surface. And this, again, may have something to do directly with our soil or our water, or literally the substance itself, like, you know, people who have addictions, right? Something with that can be coming to the surface, and it could be strongly connected to people like maybe someone like a huge public figure or a politician. Something with that can be coming to the surface, okay? But also there's going to be exposure of people who make money that way, or people that are prominent in that field. So field dealing with substances, this could be illegal or legally, like meaning our the pharmaceutical industry, right? Something with that will be coming to the surface. And there was something else I was going to say. Oh, also something that is a huge problem. The 12th house also has a lot to do with, I said escapism, but it has a lot to do with bed pleasures, right? Bed pleasures. So this definitely means things can be exposed as it relates to that. And when I say bed pleasures, I'm sure you guys know about it. It's a huge thing, a huge problem that's been going on for decades that never gets resolved. No one really tackles it on, no one addresses it, but it's a big issue, which is people who have, you know, addiction, but also people who are taking advantage of people, if that makes sense, without saying it, so I don't get censored or whatever, but people that are being taken advantage of against their will, okay? Someone who is in charge of that, more than likely something will happen with that person, okay? So also in general, people who have been making money in unethical ways, that's definitely going to be exposed now. While Saturn is in Pisces, that will be exposed right now, because there's been people who have been given power, right? And they have not used that power for good. They've used it to corrupt, for corruption. So corruption is going to definitely be exposed. Again, particularly in the like pharmaceutical sector, in the illegal pharmaceutical sector, if you know what I mean, when it comes to the entertainment industry, adult industry, that's what I should say, adult industry, but the one that's not legal. When it comes to our soil, our water, the way, like the way we're getting our food, things like that are going to be coming to the surface for sure. Okay. Now, so we talked about that. Okay. So definitely. And then another thing we'll see is there will be smoke and mirrors. Okay. Especially while Rahu is with Saturn, because Saturn will go into Pisces in basically April, but Rahu will stay in Pisces until May. So when Saturn is with Pisces, along with all of those planets, I would say that is a time frame definitely to kind of be cautious and make sure to become your own guide, become your own guru, follow your intuition. If something doesn't feel right, it more than likely is not. And this is because Saturn is going to be with Rahu, which is the planet of illusion, delusion. Okay, so basically everything that I mentioned, things with that may come to the surface, but there may be a lot of confusion. You may be told one thing, but the opposite is happening in your life, personally or on a collective level. Like when you're watching, the news, things like that. You may be told one thing, but the opposite can actually be happening, especially when we talk about Pisces, and then the fact that Saturn would be with Rahu, where there's a lot of illusion, delusion. There's going to be a lot of smoke and mirrors in March and April. Okay. So definitely follow your intuition, because there may be a lot of fear mongering going around. There may be a lot of just misinformation being spread. So make sure you are following your own intuition. And again, while Saturn is in Pisces, it's a moksha house. It's about spiritual liberation. It's about freeing yourself from the shackles of this material world. So you want to learn not to be overly attached to surface level things, or overly attached to believing what is being shown to you. Because although you may think, oh, that person has the credentials to tell me this, there's going to be smoke and mirrors around that time. Just because someone has credentials does not mean that they don't have that doesn't mean that there's other things influencing the information that they spread to you, if that makes sense. So just be very wary, very, very cautious. I'm not trying to scare you guys, but like, that's Pisces. Pisces, can be a very manipulative sign. So especially around that month, there's going to be, like the fishes, things going in different directions. You're being told one thing, just kind of like the TikTok ban. That was a perfect example where, people are saying one day, oh, it's getting banned, then the next day it's not getting banned. Like that back and forthness, that's definitely something we will be experiencing around March and April for sure. Okay. Saturn and Pisces. This is definitely going to be a time frame where, again, I kind of mentioned it, things in religion, things in industries that should not be a thing will be exposed. And because these things are going to be exposed when it comes to religion, spirituality, there's going to be a shift when it comes to the way people think, when it comes to their belief system, when it comes to even the way they handle their finances. There's going to be a lot of shedding. People are going to be letting go of a lot of things because they've gained a higher wisdom, or they've came to some sort of serious realization when it comes to what this world is about and what truly matters. So there's definitely going to be, I don't want to say it's necessarily a sacrifice, but some people may be letting go of certain things because they realize that the things that they maybe put their time and energy into, or the things that they once valued, they realize is actually not valuable at all. And they could have thought it was valuable because, again, due to some sort of manipulation or just some sort of, addiction or form of escapism that they enjoyed. But while Saturn's in Pisces, is really going to kind of push you to escape that escapism and deal with the reality of things, right? So definitely there's going to be a major shift that occurs while Saturn is in Pisces. So just to continue, yeah, definitely I see with Saturn being in Pisces in the 12th house, there's going to be, some people may suffer from some sort of paranoia when it comes to their sense of security, but it's definitely important for you to make sure to go within and follow your own intuition and kind of detach from the external things that you're seeing, because what you're seeing may not actually be true to what's actually happening. But Saturn in Pisces can kind of bring you this sort of paranoia. And especially when Saturn goes into Pisces, it can kind of make you feel like you're running out of time. Like you have to rush, and to complete something, when you don't necessarily have to do that. You just need to make sure you are following your intuition, because your intuition will give you the solution quicker than you trying to find practical surface level ways of resolving your issue, or resolving that healing, or resolving that sort of paranoia that you may be experiencing or feeling. So definitely a time of going within and following your intuition. There's definitely going to be moments where you'll feel tested, to feel like something about you is not secure, like you're losing something, like your sense of just your comfort zone is different. But again, yes, a lot of shedding, a lot of removal will be happening, but it actually is for your greater good. It just requires you to follow your inner guide, which is you, right? Do not listen to necessarily everything that everyone tells you, because there will be a lot of smoke and mirrors and even manipulation going on, right? So that's what I see about Saturn and Pisces. This is going to be a very long transit. A lot of people have been asking about the fires. yes, when Saturn is in Gandanta points, especially, but there's more to it, but this is a general, just focus on Saturn. When it's in a Gandanta point, there is something bound to happen when it comes to like catastrophic events, right? So one of them, I would say California's had the fires, but another thing we could see, I'd have to maybe make another video to tell you the timeline of it, but we could see like earthquakes happening, obviously, Saturn and Pisces, water. There may be something happening around that time, or around this time while Saturn is in Pisces. I actually have a date in mind, but maybe I'll make another video on that. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some topics with our water, things coming up in the water, for sure. And then we have Rahu and Aquarius, Ketu and Leo. Yeah. So there's definitely going to be things coming up, but this isn't to scare you. I'm just giving you a heads up as far as like what there is to expect. Again, changes in our transportation for sure. We'll be seeing that, and probably more so when Jupiter goes into Gemini, changes in the way we're dealing with other countries, something with our currency or the way we're dealing with our finances personally or collectively. There's going to be a shift in that. Something about how we're dealing with our money is going to be changing. Again, something with our agriculture can be changing too. Something with the soil in particular, or something with the water in particular, can be coming up. And then again, on with the government and with like big time celebrities, Hollywood, there may be some things getting exposed that are connected to religion, connected to the adult industry, and connected to like the pharmaceutical industry. So those are the things I see I see happening, which is going to bring a big conversation about religion. There's already been a big conversation about religion, spiritual psychosis, because Rahu's been in Pisces, but something significant can show up in the next 3 years that's really going to make people have a serious conversation about religion and spirituality. So I see that kind of continuing on, but on a more serious level, because it's going to be Saturn in Pisces, not Rahu anymore in Pisces. So it's going to be on a more serious level. But that is what I see happening for us for the next 3 years. So again, this is just a general prediction. You can apply it to your own birth chart, but you have to check to see what house Saturn will be in for the next 3 years. I will be making a video about how Saturn and Pisces is going to impact every rising and moon sign, but that will be shared on my Patreon. So make sure you join my Patreon. You can find that on my link tree on my page. But I will be uploading that video more than likely by next week. But other than that, make sure you comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you predict. What do you think is going to happen while Saturn is in Pisces? And again, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys all later. Bye.